to the Triple D's or
Daddy-daughter discussion. I'm Tyron.
I'm Giselle. Today's topic will be music. To start off, do you have a favorite song, Dad?
Oh, I have so many. When you chose this topic, I was like, music, but I think I don't have a favorite song, but I think I have a favorite genre.
Yeah.
Genre is probably R&B soul.
Okay.
So what about you?
I'm like you. I don't have a favorite song because I could listen to songs on repeat every other day. Just my favorite song varies from day to day. Genre? Same with my genre. Whatever I vibe with at the moment. Sometimes it's pop, sometimes indie, sometimes R&B, soul. It just varies.
Yeah, exactly. I think you use a good word, vibe, or vibration. So at that moment, at that time, whatever is igniting you, I think music we play will sometimes align to how we're feeling at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The birth of even music from an African American standpoint, a lot of people want to call it a spiritual blues. It was kind of birthed out of our forefathers and mothers enslaved, and they was singing. The funny thing about, you see the word blues and you think of sad and blue. That's not, we didn't put that label on it. For us, blues is everything. It's the ups, it's the down, it's the middle, it's everything. That's why I think it's such a cultural expression. It's one of our culture expression is our music.
I think music in general, like you said, it's not just sad. Like for blues, it's not sad. You're just singing about how you feel or your thoughts. That's why I love, when I listen to music from different decades, I'm like, okay, what was the exigence to writing this, to producing it?
Mm.
Like a lot of songs during, you could say, the war on drugs, a lot of that, like the rap, really, you could tell that that's what they were like. That was their passion to rap about that and the wrongdoing.
So I grew up in that era. So I was born in 76, and I grew up in and around that era in the late 80s and 90s, where the war on drugs, and I know the audience can't see us, but quote unquote, was something that they, and flooded in our communities. So the rap genre and the rap music at the time was very, as they call, conscious.
Yeah.
Now you kids call it, I'm woke. Now we don't allow, certain parts of people groups to even take that. So absolutely.
I think there's always been this wokeness in different generations. Like every generation has their woke group. It's just different names.
Well, I think if you was to put a label on it, I think we, like you said, we like to use little colloquialisms like I'm woke or conscious. But honest is about, for me, this is how I see it, being self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started having my self-aware moment, honestly, I can never tell you a day, time, but I can tell you a year, a period. I can pretty much align some music I was listening to at that time, and what I was doing. So music, in terms of self-awareness, you hit the nail on the head when you were saying, when you're looking at eras. I totally agree. Like when you look at in the 60s,
that was the Shaboom era, right? Like the doo-wop.
No.
Was that early?
Well,
was that the 50s?
That was the 50s.
Okay.
But you got to realize what they kind of commercialized, like the 50s and the 60s, doo-wop or whatever. But we didn't call it that. When I say we, I'm talking about African American women and men. They start putting genres on it. So in the 50s and the 60s and in the 60s, that was like our Black Power movement. So it was very, you had the Nina Simones, you had the Billie Holidays in the late 50s. So very powerful men and women that came out of that era during that time. So I believe, if I had to say, if somebody was to put a gun in my, which era of music was the most self-aware? I had to say in the 60s.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think self-awareness, like every generation has it, it just presents itself in different ways? Or is it just like it's the most and the least self-aware?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say, and stand to the tune of what we was talking about in terms of music. I don't know if you can say each generation, and it's just my opinion, each generation has a different level of self-awareness. I would say each individual, because self-awareness is an individual thing. And movement and memory, and when I speak of movement and memory, especially in the Black community, that's where you get, like I said, the spiritual blues all the way to R&B. It's all aligned, meaning they was a people group was speaking to their present situation at the time. So when you're looking at like your era, your generation is what, Gen
Z.
Gen Z. I look at your music is, whether it's R&B, whether it's pop, it's very the same to me. It's very collective. Even when you guys speak about love and romance, and it's just my opinion, because there's some depth in a lot of the music, but it also, I can't tell I don't hear the passion in terms of relationship building. I hear, heavily sexuality and things like that. And that kind of came into my era too. So what's your thoughts?
I feel like in this generation, it's very oversaturated. Like when the internet came, we were exposed to all these things, like all these different opinions and stuff. It's like, okay, you obviously have opinions. I guess you don't need another opinion. Mm-hmm. So it kind of became that one voice, one collective.
Absolutely. And I think that's if you was to say a negative, because that can, negative and positive, bad and good, there are universal ones, but also some individuals. So if I was to say a negative to music, I would say it can be a distraction. Oh. And that's what you was alluding to.
I agree that music can be a distraction. Like last year, all I was about was music, and I was so focused on music that I did my work, but I wasn't learning. I was just doing the work. And this year, I think last week was really when I went back to listening to music because I really needed to calm down. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I've been more, I guess, awake. Like,
from what perspective?
What do you mean?
So you say you've been more awake or self-aware. Mm-hmm. In what areas?
Just grown up, like saying, okay, you could drive, you're old enough. In my thoughts too, it's like I was so scared that I wouldn't be able to read because I have to grow up. But now I've known from not listening, I can read. I just need to find that balance.
Absolutely. And that's the thing about when we talking about music. So you can listen extremely too much and it can distract you, or you can kind of lose touch of, like I alluded to me, in my opinion, culture is a collective of practices, rituals, and music is one of those things. So to lose where we at from a spiritualness, music-wise, I think we losing a part of us. So that's why I listen to music. I love all genres of music. But I'm very self-aware on the impact that music can do to me. Yeah. I can listen to, back when I was my clubbing days in the 90s, when I first came in the military, there was certain genres of music that just really got me hyped, where I was angry. But I'm the same guy. Your father was the same man that when I used to go to the club, I'm driving with Tony Braxton, Johnny Gill. Those are like slow R&B singers. And, I never bumped like my music like that. But I grew up where I'm from in Mississippi. You've been there. What do we play all the time in Mississippi?
Church music, soul.
Exactly. So I grew up in that environment that it was always, and I didn't see a sadness in it. It was like when I listen to that music, it brings a smile to my face.
I found that interesting because, like you said, club music, like some of that music made you angry, and that reminds me of metal music. Like to me, I can't listen to it; it's too much, too loud. But for some people, it's like a release. Like, and then for you, you said blues doesn't make you sad; it makes you smile.
Yeah,
maybe it's because that's memories. That's good memories. Like you don't associate that with sadness.
Yeah,
every time that played, everybody was laughing, smiling. But some people, they hear that and it's like, oh, it's so sad.
Oh, so sad.
So I find that very interesting.
Yeah.
It's like we put our own meanings and feelings onto the music. So I guess that's a sort of projection.
Oh, absolutely. And it's even like with Spanish music. I cannot understand any of the words, but my God.
I want to move. I want to dance. I listen to French, Indian, Bollywood. I don't understand what they're saying, but all I know is they sound good.
It sound good.
And I would love to dance.
And it resonates. What's the movie that you and I like?
Bahubali?
Yes. The music collection on that particular movie is just, it's beautiful. From the videos of it and how they describe, and you and I had no clue what they were saying, but oh my God, it was so beautiful.
I think that's you don't need to know the words. It's just the composition, like the instruments and all that. That's why sometimes I don't like to listen to music with words. I like to listen to like classical. Like, I love classical because you don't need words to convey an emotion or like a thought, and I just love that.
Well, the great, like the Louis Armstrongs and the Miles Davis, their compositions of music, it was about creativity, and it does take someone with you don't even have to have a good ear to appreciate the vibrations of the music. So I do that also. Like if I'm not listening to classic, I might just put on vibration frequencies and just listen to it. And it pulsates through my body. Have you ever done that? You know the vibrations frequencies I'm talking about?
Kind of, but I haven't really dabbed into that. I like more like the nature sounds. Like I love hearing the birds. But because during the spring, the birds, they always come, they build their nest, I hear them chirping. It brings me peace. Like, I love to sit outside and just listen. So.
Well, and I always say, you and I are going to probably definitely dig into this when we start talking about religion and spirituality, but nature, I always appreciate the creation.
Yes.
The creator, there are things I cannot fathom about, right? But the creation, from the birds, from, listening to the squirrels running across, your dog, or just the creation is amazing.
And I find it interesting, my puppy, Daisy, I see her, I'm like, where is she? And she's outside just enjoying, she's just sitting in the backyard just, it's like, wow, you're more attuned to nature than some people.
Absolutely. See? And I think if we just look at nature, just really look at nature and appreciate it, a lot of the things that we do as a society, and I'm guilty of it also. I'm in this current reality called capitalism and greed. I'm in it. But a lot of it I don't have to be a part of, and those choices that I make, because I do admire nature. I do appreciate things. Bugs come in the house. What do I do?
You don't kill them. Like, I understand the nice looking ones, but some of them it's like, that's a bug. That is a cricket. That's a roach. That is a hornet. I don't see it.
But it is not from a perspective of life, but it's mostly of appreciation. Like, I just appreciate what they do, and I don't know why. I appreciate the creations.
I remember when you told me if you see a cricket, it means you're happy. And right after that, I was in the bathroom and I saw a cricket. Now every time I see a cricket, I smile. It's 'cause someone must be happy. That's me, that the cricket is there for.
So I did, and it's funny you bring that up, and I did that because you guys were scared of him. So
Yeah.
I said that. So it's about that movement in memory. You remember that? I told you that when you was like 5. So now when you look at him, you're not all scared.
Yeah,
You like,
it's like, okay. Can you tell me something about cockroaches? Because I'm terrified. I'm terrified of cockroaches. If I see one, I'd rather just move out.
well, I haven't. You know what? I've never really lived in a place with like cockroaches. So, but you know what? Let me take that back. In South Carolina, they had those palmetto bugs,
Ooh.
and they're like super cockroaches. So I agree. I'm not.
It's just the crawling, the skittering. It's like they can't. It's hard to kill them.
But I tell you what, you got appreciation. If we go to a nuclear war,
They will be there. That's what I was like. Wow, you survived. You are a survivor.
So I appreciate that because I look at them and then you look. You know, I know this probably far fetched. Our forefathers and mothers that were enslaved and rudely interrupted on a continent, and they were survivors.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that they survived that no other group of people could ever. Not saying we are aligned to roaches, but in terms of survival. So you're right. I don't kill roaches because I do appreciate how they survival skills are just amazing to me.
Yeah, it's like a lot of negatives, but you gotta find that one positive to make it okay.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to one of my friends, and we was talking about negative and positive. And I guarantee you, you know, back with the music, we are quick to say this generation music is this, or is mumble rap, or is they look at what they wearing, look at what they dressing. And I surmise, and I want to know your thoughts. If whatever you guys are creating musically, my generation is your parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we had an influence on that.
Yeah, I don't understand why people say like kids these days are always on their phones. It's like a lot of those people are parents of those kids. So
Absolutely.
I don't understand it.
So that's the thing about, we have to be willing to take accountability.
Yeah.
We have to take accountability. So I'm quick to, when people try to align generations with music. This music, this days, da 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 da. It's different.
It's different.
But when you look at it from a spiritual blues, they speaking their situation at that moment. Because it doesn't align to where you're at.
Doesn't mean it's bad.
It's
Just
bad or
means-
not really, yeah.
Yeah.
And because I don't understand half the music that's coming out, but I have an appreciation of it because my perspective on how I look at things, like it's coming out of something on where they at.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at music, you can kind of see the pulse of not only the nation, the world. You know, especially the music that come out of America, especially from African Americans, it doesn't matter what genre of music, it vibrates throughout. I've been to all of Europe, 13 different countries in Africa, South America, and our music is everywhere. So, and I say that to say, it seems like the pulse is the same depending on that generation, on where they at. You know, so in my time coming up, and I can imagine my parents was like, you know, this rap, this hardcore gangster rap, that's what came out during my time. But although I wasn't in it, I can understand. I remember that time because
Yeah, it's like, look at the situation.
look at the situation. Exactly.
Yeah, I think music. As like the music that comes out today, we're in that situation because like we're teenagers. Like I'm a teenager, so though I'm not, I can't change it, but I'm growing up with it. Like during COVID, a lot of people were adults already, so they weren't affected. But like say Jaden, he graduated during COVID, and it hasn't been that good during COVID, and that must have been hard. And the music shows that, like.
You're right.
And my third period teacher, she said something interesting on the first or second day of school. She's like, "How has COVID affected?" And she said, "Babies, they won't be able to recognize facial expressions as well because everybody's wearing masks." Like, wow, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. It's the little things. It's just like with any advancements. For anything that we do to combat something or to even make easier, we take away.
Yep, it's always a give and take.
We take away. That's a great point. That's a really great point. I had a thought about something, but you started talking about COVID and different generations, and it really made me think, because there are situations that are happening in my life or have happened in my life that it shaped me, not in a negative way.
Just shaped you.
It shaped.
Shaped. Okay.
It was some things that did shape me, but it shaped me. So
I don't understand when people say, like, it's shaping, you change is always bad. That's not true. It's like, and even when you said it shook me, it shaked me, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means it not woke you up, but it's like, hey.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. So just remember when we start talking about truths or truth, it's that person at that time, individual experience, his or her worldview. So your truths might be different than my truth because I've seen a whole lot more in certain areas, right? But then there are certain areas you are actually living it, and I'm looking from the outside in, and you like, that's not how it is, Daddy. So, and we got to be mindful of that, especially when going back from the music perspective. And I remember my parents and people around where I'm from, that old cussing music and this and that. And you know me, I like to point out things. And so I point out some of the music that they was listening to that was heavily sexual. And it matched their era because they was having sex very, very young, having kids very, very young, so so it was like...
Yeah, it's like, look at yourself before you speak on something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I'm really enjoying this conversation with music.
Yeah.
I still didn't know where it was going to go, but that's the point of this. We're just talking.
I like to keep it broad and just talk. It's like, if it remotely relates, who cares if it's remotely relating? We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Absolutely. So, with that being said, I think for me, music is essential in my life. It gives me balance. It gives me peace. And I didn't coin the phrase spiritual blues. As Professor Dr. Obi Tashaka, I got to give him credit, the spiritual blues, but I like it. And I don't know if it, me speaking about it resonates with you, but moving forward, I want you to think about memory and moments within the music. So
yeah, me and music, it's a balance. It can help you, it can hurt you, but it's there. It helps people relate to each other, and it's one of the things that won't go away, that can't be taken over by robots. It'll always be there.
Well, I don't know, they got that little...
but that's not human. I always think if robots take over art, then the world's ending, because...
It's not going to be any creativity.
I know, it's like, don't give everything to the robots.
Well, I tell you, I love this session. And until the next time,
this is the Triple T's for
Daddy-Daughter Discussion.